Hey, everybody, welcome back to the 50 podcast. Today we are here with Itzel. She's an active law enforcement officer. She's a Cali girl, an internet influencer with over 200,000 followers, a fitness enthusiast, and a police officer recruitment advocate. So, for our listeners who don't already know who you are, which they probably already do, um, give them a quick bio about yourself, and then we will get into it, all the things we talked about above and more.
Yeah, of course. So I am the daughter of two Mexican parents. I was born and raised in the Bay Area, which is in Northern California. I clearly am a police officer. I am a sister of five girls, no brothers. I know.
Wow. That is so random because the girl I interviewed yesterday, she's the sister of five girls too.
No.
Yes. And I'm like, that I've never heard that. That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay. So big
What about
family.
Oh yeah. The only sister with no kids, like no prior law enforcement experience on my end. No one at the time of when I was applying, anyone in my family had any law enforcement like connections or were in law enforcement themselves. Now it's different. I've had more family members get into um, the career. But yeah, I mean, I love working out.
Yeah, we
That's
could
my
see, girl. You're like buff as hell. Like, I gotta get into the
hobby.
gym. So tell us about your family life and growing up. I we'll talk about it in a little bit, but I love how you not only incorporate like your fitness and your police advocacy, but you also incorporate your heritage a lot.
Yeah.
So tell us about family life and how it was growing up, because I ask everyone that comes on my podcast this question. I feel like somehow, some way, we all landed here for a reason,
Mhm.
whether it's a crazy, chaotic life or completely the opposite. But tell us about your story growing up.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, my parents are Mexican. They were born and raised over there, came to California originally, were stationed in Los Angeles. That's where I want to say like three of my older sisters were raised. And they came up to the Bay Area and had my other sister and me. I'm the youngest.
Okay.
Growing up, I think, as you can imagine, with a bunch of girls, it is a chaotic household, especially the house we were living in was just a two-bedroom, one bath in San Francisco. And if you know, or if you don't know, a lot of the buildings in San Francisco are very narrow and very tall and are split into two. So there's a top housing portion and a bottom housing portion. So we were at the top. Um, yeah, seven people in a two-bedroom, one bath. Very, very chaotic. The oldest eventually moved out. When I was two, my dad passed away from colon cancer. So, yeah.
Wow. See, these
So
are why I like to ask these questions, because it's like, look how far you've come. And I love to know like these things about everyone that I interview. So it's just, and thank you for sharing that. Keep going. I'm so into it. Yeah.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, so my dad passed away when I was two, so it was up to my mom to
Wow.
raise the rest of us on her own. And she never remarried anyone. She essentially stayed single up to this point, and I'm 29 now. So,
Wow. And
yeah,
she raised all five, four of you at that time by herself.
pretty much. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, thankfully, we did at the time have family members nearby. She had her sister living next door to her, so she needed to if she needed her sister to babysit me for like a
Hmm.
little, if she needed to go run errands or whatever the case was, she had that help. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that growing up with a dad part was a little hard, especially
Yeah.
when people would ask like, "Oh, like, um." So where's your dad or what does your dad do? And I'm just I have to awkwardly be like, well, I don't have one." And then people will be like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Like, it's fine. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing I can do about that.
Right. Wow. But I feel like it makes a lot of sense hearing how you were raised, and then, like, from me not knowing you personally, but knowing you from the internet, like, you really have, like, a strong female, like, alpha female presence, and it kinda clicks because it makes sense because you were raised by, like, a single mom, basically, and
Yeah.
watching a mom, like, do it all by herself really now makes more sense to, like, understand, like, the kind of person that you are.
Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't until recently where I kind of looked back because obviously in this profession, you have to like hold your own, you have to be able to lead people, give commands and whatnot. And just looking back, I was like, dang, like my mom really, she did all that. And I can kind of see how um I probably got that from her. Just seeing
Yeah,
her growing
absolutely.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, like, who you learn everything from. Like, she had to delegate stuff to 4, 5 kids and do all of that with what she had, and it really definitely makes sense. Like, if you see your content, like, it definitely all adds up, for sure.
Which
So
is
what
funny.
is Go
Sorry.
ahead, go ahead. No, go ahead. Keep going,
I
girl.
well, I've never had anyone, like, point that out to me of, like, "Yeah, you just give off, like,
You do.
those, like,
You really give
don't
off,
mess
like, alpha
with."
female, like, badass bitch energy. Like, I don't need no motherfucking man or nobody. Like, that's the vibe I get from you. And you're also, like, super buff, so I feel like you could beat someone up. So it's like you don't need you don't need that's the vibe I get.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
good, though.
oh, thank
So
you.
what inspired you to become a police officer? It's kind of a general question, and I know it can be kinda hard to answer, but how did you get to where you're at?
To be quite honest, I'm just gonna preface this right now. My journey isn't this, like, super inspirational of, like, epiphany of why I chose. It was very straight to the point. So in high school, I knew I wanted to go to college, but I started to think like, okay, what career, what do I want to do with my life? And degree wise, I was always interested in criminal justice, just like crime scene stuff and always watching those shows. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of like the first 48
Oh,
of
yeah, girl. Love the first 48. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what kind of got me hooked and got me really thinking like, "Oh, you know what? I think it'd probably be really good or great to be a police officer." It seems how I imagined it was like something new each day, it'd be exciting. You're with the guys. I grew up with a bunch of cousins, a bunch of guy cousins for the most part, and we would be out in the backyard and we'd be roughhousing and playing and I'd be playing with cars. So I was just like, it's something familiar to me. And I think at the time I thought, you know what, this would be really cool. Like, why not? So I went to college. I went to community college first. I did that for 2 years, went down to Southern California and got my degree in criminology, law and society at the University of California, Irvine, with a minor in psychology.
Oh,
That was
wow, cool.
what I
Yeah, but it applies for sure.
Yeah, so once I thought I was going to stay down there and pursue my career down in Southern California, because I really liked it. I had a few family members down there, but the majority were up here in Northern California. I'm like, you know what, I'm not if I'm missing home, family members aren't too far from me. So I stayed down there a little bit after I had graduated, and I realized that my job at the time wasn't paying me enough to be able to survive long term while I pursued applying and trying to get into this career. So I made the decision just to move back home and transfer my job back up here and just start applying. Boom, boom, boom. My one of my coworkers at the time, he had was in the process and eventually got hired on with the police department and was just giving me like advice and stuff. And I told him, like, I'm not hearing back from anyone. Like, this is like kind of discouraging. Like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I feel like I'm very well qualified for the position. He's like, you're fine. Because I even thought about putting myself through. So I don't know if that's an option for you guys.
In Illinois, they paid for it, but I just transferred to Florida, and I guess that's the thing down here, which is crazy. So if you don't mind explaining it to some of the listeners, because I have a lot of listeners in Illinois and we don't have this.
Yeah, so putting yourself through, let's say you're applying to agencies and either those agencies that you applied to just aren't hiring you or aren't getting back to you and you just don't want to wait, you're going to fork out your own money to put yourself through the police academy. So you're going to buy your your own materials, your uniform, everything that it requires, the class expenses, literally everything you are paying for to put yourself through the academy. Then towards the end, there will be some agencies that will stop by the academy and kind of see, because they all know that there's some people that put themselves through, and they'll come by and check out, okay, like, are we kind of liking this person? Do we want to recruit them from our own department? Or you can just try again and apply to other departments and be like, hey, I'm putting myself through, yada, yada, yada. And
Like
if
the
you're
NFL draft.
lucky,
Like,
yeah. And if you're lucky, they if you do get hired on either by the time you graduate or maybe even a little after you graduate, they can reimburse you for everything that you paid to put yourself through the academy. So you're
oh,
not.
wow. Okay, that's cool.
The only two downfall would be that you just cannot be working another job during the academy. So you need to find a way to financially be surviving with no job because you're putting
Yeah.
yourself through. Because
Wow.
the people who are hired on by an agency, they're getting paid to be there. They're getting paid to work out,
Right.
to study and all that. And you're just
Right. Right. So you
yeah.
were about to put yourself through, and then did someone find you or something? Someone pick you up? An agency?
Yeah, so I obviously backed off from putting myself through. And
A lot of money.
yeah, I went to retake my written test to get a higher score because that's just me, freaking high achieving person that I am. I just wanted a higher score because I wanted to apply to a certain agency. And before my test began, my sergeant at the time, he's retired now, he gave his whole spiel like to the whole class that was taking the written test. Hey, like, this is why you should apply to my agency and X, Y, and Z, A, B, C. And I was like, you know what? Let me talk to him after I'm done taking my test.
Oh,
So,
wow. Okay.
yeah,
Smart.
so I finished my test. I went and spoke to him. He's a very charismatic people person. And he was obviously telling me about it. I'm like, you know what? I have nothing to lose. Like, the worst thing that's going to happen is that I get a no. So I got his contact information. I kept in contact with him. And within 3 months, I got hired on with that agency.
Wow. It was like, and if you didn't retake that written test, you would have never met that guy.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
how far was it from your house? Like, was it pretty close by? Did it all work out like that
yeah,
or?
yeah, it was at the time it was about like a 25-minute drive.
Oh my God. Perfect.
Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
yeah, if I didn't go retake that test, I would be at a completely different department.
Yeah. Or if God, hopefully not putting yourself through. Did
Yeah.
you, when you chose this career and you started doing all this, did you have any pushback from your family or were they supportive?
My family, so I had asked my mom specifically what her thoughts were. And to my surprise, she was, like, supportive. She was like, "If that's what you wanna do, then do it. I'm not who am I to tell you, 'No, you can't
Yeah.
pursue a career.'" Because I was expecting her to be like, "No, like, the job is so dangerous, like, I just don't want you, to just go through that," or, typical,
Yeah.
like, Mexican mom, overprotective and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um,
My
but
best friend, my partner for like 3 years on the road, she's Mexican and very like family Mexican from Mexico, same thing. And yeah, I know how it is. Very
yeah,
protective moms, which is amazing.
yeah, and for the rest of my family, I, to be honest, didn't get much, pushback. They were pretty accepting of it, again, because none of my family wasn't anti-police. I mean, I never grew up calling the cops for something that would happen. That was just was something we just didn't do.
Right.
Um, but yeah, my family was, for the most part, fully like supportive.
That's
Yeah.
good because sometimes it can go both ways. But that's good that they were supportive and now years later they're probably like so proud of you. In your policing career, What what units have you worked in, and what's been your favorite role or experience you've had thus far?
So I have a lot of duties within my department.
Okay, that's cool. Tell us.
So I work basic patrol. I am solo in my car. We don't work doubles. We don't work two people per car. Very rarely will that happen if like we're super well staffed. They'll be like, yeah, okay, go work two man. But I just work basic patrol streets. But aside from patrol, they they actually just, I wanna say, like, maybe 2 days ago, pulled me aside and be like, "Hey, we decided along with not just you, but a couple other people to choose you to be a field training officer."
Amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I still have to go to school for being a training officer, but so I'm an FTO, will be. I don't know what you guys would call it, but like a defensive tactics, rescue
Yeah, instructor.
tactics
Yeah,
instructor. Yeah.
that's awesome.
I do that. I'm part of recruitment for my department.
I knew
I'm
it. I knew you'd be part of recruitment. That's like you're so good at that.
I am a hostage crisis negotiator. I am also, I don't know how what you guys would consider it, but when you guys have riots and you have to go like hats and bats and shield and all that.
Yeah, like tactical suppression team, I think it is, or riot teams. I don't know. I get it though. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so
Yeah.
I'm part of that too.
Damn, girl. You're gonna be chief.
Yeah. That's
I was wondering if you were on recruitment though, because on the internet you're a recruiter. You're definitely a recruiter. Like and I definitely think you are really a unisex recruiter. You
Mm,
definitely promote for women, but I love that your content is definitely geared for both.
yeah.
And I do think that you probably have inspired a lot of people to go into law enforcement. So I would think, why wouldn't your department use those skills for their own benefit? Like, why not?
Yeah,
Um,
part of
because
recruitment that I recently got that position. So, and it wasn't really until some of the comments that I was getting on my social media of like, hey, like just about the job. I was like, you know
hmm
what? Like, let me start gearing my content to what these people are asking for.
yeah,
And there you'll get girls that will comment like, "Oh, like you're my inspiration," or like, "You motivate me so much," or they have these some people have reservations of like, oh, like I don't know if I should do it. But I'm like, if you need a stranger on the internet to tell you to just make that leap of faith and just fucking do it. Sorry, I don't know if I can
No,
cuss.
you can swear, girl. We're X-rated.
um, then just I will gladly be that person to tell you just freaking do it. Like you just don't know where life will lead you um with just simple
100%.
decisions. Yeah.
And you break down things so nice on your in your content, like, you'll explain, like, the physical tests, like, how to apply and what are the requirements and stuff like that. So I know when I was going through all of this back in the day, I would have loved to have someone like you or like me explaining what is expected because first of all, I never saw girls doing it. And second of all, I didn't know what the hell to expect. And walking into the unknown is scary.
Yeah.
And like yours is so great because like California is different and they have different stuff like you said about the academy and I know like your physical tests are different, your retirement stuff is different because I've had some girls ask me from Cali and I'm like, "I don't know what the hell you're talking about." And I've like sent them your page because because California is very different and
Yeah.
you break that down super well.
Yeah, and like you said, when I was going through the process myself, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know anyone who was a cop, so I can ask questions to. And now that the internet and social media is so big and so easily accessible, that what I'm doing now, I wish that was what I had access to back then just to make things easier. So now I'm thinking when I come try to think of ideas of what to post, I'm thinking, what did I need back then, or what information would I have loved to know while applying or for the academy or after when you're on FTO? Like, what should I be expecting? What do I need to do? What do I need to know?
Yeah,
So,
100%. And you do that really well. And what's your favorite roles thus far? Do you think you have like a favorite thing in policing that you do?
um, to be honest, I like teaching
Mhm,
people, teaching new people, especially who are just brand new to the job, for example, just like arrest and control, like defensive tactics stuff.
mhm.
Because I'm a very hands-on person, like even on the street, if people are fighting, like count me in. I am
Yeah.
there super
Yes,
fast.
girl. Yes, I love
Um,
it.
yeah, so it's just I think I would say that. Yeah, I just and even seeing people just grow and learn and apply what you taught them and be like,
Mhm.
yes, I did that.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, have you faced any struggles personally in your law enforcement career?
Um, struggles, I mean, even just to be quite honest, just being a female in the job. My department is pretty good in terms of how me and my coworkers work together.
Mhm,
I know some other agencies are not like that in terms of the men are will talk down to other females or think they're incapable of doing their job and just try to
mhm.
make their life difficult. Um,
Yeah.
so overall, thankfully, I've had a positive experience with my department. But I've also had to work for my stuff. I just didn't have it handed to me like some people think, "Oh, you only got it just because you're a girl." No, like I actually worked my ass off and like put in the work to have that position or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, out on the street, it's kind of expected dealing with the public of, they're not a fan of cops or I am on the taller end. I'm 5'8", so I don't know if they find it intimidating because even with my work boots, I'm probably close to like 5'10". Uh,
Yeah. And your
at the-
tattoos.
yeah. But I don't know if they just find it intimidating that I just don't really get too much backlash, but I also know how to defend myself verbally, not just physically, but verbally of like I don't let things slide. Because I know some other female officers who are on the shorter end, let's say like they're 5'3",
Yeah.
that people are just like, just because of their height, on top of being a girl, like they'll just talk down on them. So I don't get too
Yeah.
much backlash. I would say it's more so um on the internet.
Y-
Keyboard
Yeah,
work.
girl. And we'll talk about that. We will talk about that. Do you have any advice for new officers that want to begin this career? You said earlier, just fucking do it. But if I'm like listening to this and I'm a Cali girl, what would you say if I wanted to make the leap?
Aside from just fully convincing yourself to just fucking do it, I think
Love it.
I think you really need to find deep down in you to see if you really want to do this job, because some people will start this job and realize immediately, absolutely not, this is not for me, I can't do this. So if you can go on ride-alongs with different departments and just question the hell out of the officer who's doing your ride-along about their experience of with the department or just the job in general, just to get an idea, not just men, but women as well, and kind of see where their head's at. Um, and just be on top of if you do decide to apply, just be on top of your stuff because you need to be disciplined, very disciplined,
Mhm.
uh, and just strong, not just physically strong, but you need to be mentally strong as well because people, like I mentioned earlier, will talk down to you, try to get in your head and make you second guess yourself. And you just need to be confident um, to do it. So just whatever it takes for you to figure out your confidence, even if you got to fake the confidence till you
Yeah.
make it, then
No, totally. It's like all about your headspace. You got to be in a good headspace because it's not going to get any better once you get on the job.
yeah.
So, yeah, no, that's great advice. I love it. Um, so online. So you have like over 200,000 followers online. You're really popular. And I again love your content. Does it scare you to be vulnerable online?
To be honest, no. Because I'm very particular about what I post and what I say, whether that's in the video, for example, on TikTok, whether it's on the video itself or my comments to people. Because yeah, I'm gonna get backlash because I'm a cop and throw it on top because I'm a female cop that people for whatever reason just don't like to see it. Like you don't
Haters,
know
man.
me. It boggles my mind. I don't understand it. Like I can't find it in myself to want to go to a stranger's page and take time
Right?
out of my day to comment these hateful, out of this world negative stuff and think it's okay. And
It's
I
crazy.
I obviously will reply to the good stuff, so I have to sort through my comments and I'm obviously going to see the negative as well, but
Mhm.
I'll leave
Yeah.
it so the world can see what a horrible person they are.
I know. I'm like, you know what? I'm not even a blocker. I'll just leave it. And I'll be
Yeah,
like, "Thank you for your engagement."
yeah, pretty
You
much.
for the view.
Yeah.
So, do you get any pushback from your agency for your online videos? You don't have to talk specifics, but do like from coworkers or command, do you ever get pushback or are they supportive?
So only a few of my coworkers I've told, because they'll ask me like, "Oh, what are you gonna do on your weekend?" And it's pretty much the same thing that I tell them, like, "Oh, I gotta go work out. I need to edit videos. I need to record videos and
Yeah.
yada yada yada." So, and they're like, "Oh, of course you do." Um, so not necessarily that they feel some sort of negative type of way because I get along with them. I'm sure a lot of my other coworkers know because maybe I've come across their page, but I've never
Yeah.
like spoke to them about it. I just kind of leave it as is. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, I've personally gotten pushback, like can't be in uniform or can't be like at work
Mhm.
when I'm doing content, but I'm very jealous of the people who can because I think it's such a good recruitment tool. I don't see what's the problem personally. But um with the online, you do a lot of fitness advice and fitness motivation. Um do you have any advice for any of our listeners who need fitness motivation to like make it through the academy? Because you're like really big into working out. Are you a trainer too? A personal trainer or no?
I briefly did it for a little bit online, solely online. But a lot of life stuff started happening that I just had to just cut it out because it was taking up too much of my time.
Yeah.
So briefly, yeah, I was. I've been asked to do it again. I may do it again in the future, but as of right now, like I'm a little too focused on my job, freaking making videos for social media and a bunch of other personal stuff.
Yeah.
But I grew up playing sports, which probably gave me the upper hand in the future, because I loved being active. My main sport was basketball. I played it all through middle school, through high school, and part of college. And I dabbled in a few other sports, but they just never stuck with me. So being active has just
Mm.
been a staple in my routine. Like I do it in the mornings just to get it out of the way. Um, and it just makes me feel good. Like I have to do it, even when there's days of like, I really don't want to. But then I'm like, I'm
Mhm.
so glad I went
That's me
because
every day, girl.
I feel
But then I see your content and all the other girls, girl cops contents who are like working out. I'm like, God damn it. I got to get my ass to the damn gym.
Yeah, but I mean for the people who are trying to find the motivation to
Mhm.
it, you honestly need to build it into your daily routine. And when I say daily, you don't need to work out 7 days a week, nothing crazy, especially if you're starting out. Find where it fits in your schedule. If it's in the morning, have a slot of like 1 to 2 hours or whatever you can make work in your morning and dedicate yourself. Okay, like this is, I have to go to the gym in this slot. And just after a while, it'll become a habit and routine where it's just like, oh, well, yeah, I have to go to the gym today. And it's just something normal.
Mhm.
But for the academy stuff, that's when I was in pretty decent shape prior to the academy, but I knew the academy that they were sending me to was super physical focused that I ended up hiring a trainer to kind of push me a little farther than what I was
Oh,
already.
wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was a lot of running.
Oh, wow. The
I was
training
not
or the test?
the academy. I was
Oh,
not,
wow.
so I knew it'd be a lot of running. I just was not ready for
For how much running?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a runner. No. Mm-mm. No,
It
ma'am.
I
Mm-mm.
mean, given in the academy, I was probably in one of the best shapes of my life. I was in great shape. I lost a lot of weight, unfortunately, but how they pushed us was just beyond what I could have done for myself.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, mine was pretty tough too and a lot different than what I was used to before, like running as well, and I am, again, not a runner, but I made it, so that's good. Um, I wanna talk a little bit about your Hispanic heritage with your online, presence. So, you are very open about your heritage online, and, like, sometimes you'll post, like, stuff with, like, your Spanish music or speaking in Spanish.
Yeah.
Have you helped people who may have not known they could be successful in this career come onto this career because of your heritage?
So growing up, I was always surrounded by different kinds of Spanish music, different genres. And up till today, like when I'm cleaning my house, I'll have that playing in my background as like motivation. Um, but I noticed too that not just females, but males who are Hispanic will reach out because they can relate in that sense.
Mhm.
Will ask me questions about it or they enjoy the same thing. So that's why I'll put that audio on my TikToks because that's what they're used to hearing. That's what they enjoy. Um, it's kind of more of a, what's the word? It's familiar to them.
Yes.
And I think some people who are Hispanic kind of need that extra push if this career is what they're trying to pursue. Because a lot of us grow up in all sorts of like some grow up super duper poor, some grow up kind of in the middle. Very, very few can I say that they're way at the top. But with the limited resources, when they're kind of down here in the middle, just needs someone that they can relate to. Like I said, I grew up in San Francisco in a super, super small house, with not the most amount of money in the world. So I think it's just kind of still keeping in touch with like my roots and um,
Yeah, that's
just
why I asked, and that's why I like it because, like, I feel like when you're relatable to everyone, but you're also I feel like pulling an extra demographic to people who may not know that there's other people like them in this career. And by tying in your Hispanic heritage and like showing people like that you could be like you and do the job, I think is really important. I also like love how you said like the way you grew up and the way other people grow up. Like y- it's a way to connect to like you can and also like if you speak 2 languages, you're going to be very successful in this career,
oh
like being bilingual and like people don't even realize how like oh my god, if there's not a Spanish speaker on my shift, like I'm literally screwed because so many people speak Spanish.
yeah.
So, it's just like a really cool thing that you do that I appreciate, and I think a lot of people in the Hispanic culture and girls and boys who wanna become police officers who are like you, grew up like you, I think it's really opens that door for them.
Yeah, and I think too, it's just oh my god, I completely drew a blank.
Oh, you're fine, you're fine. No, just like it I just think it's cool that you do all your recruiting stuff, your normal stuff, but also tie in your heritage. I just think it's important and I think it's cool and I think you're inspiring a lot of younger Hispanic males and females to join the job.
Yeah, which would have been nice for me when too, seeing that, like, growing up, because
That
again
too.
again,
Right.
in my schools, like, in San Francisco, because I eventually moved from San Francisco to farther inland in the East Bay Area,
Mhm.
but we didn't really grew up with cops, coming to our schools, let alone cops who are female or who are Hispanic. 'Cause I know when you're younger, you get what's the word? Like, influenced
Yeah.
easily?
Yeah.
So and you're very impressionable, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
So when you're younger and you see like, "Oh, wow, like, she looks like me," or "She speaks my language," or "She has, like, my kind of hair," or, like, little
Yes.
things like that, that will think like, "Yeah, like, if you wanna do this, like, you can do it too." Like, it's not impossible. Um
Yeah. I love it. I love that you're doing it and inspiring people in your culture and obviously other cultures too, but like I just think it's great. There was another question I wanted to ask you that I forgot about the internet. About internet hate, and I just wanted to ask you, how do you deal with the internet trolls or the internet hate? Because I know a lot of my listeners feel that too. And you're since you have 200,000 followers, I'm gonna assume I get a lot of hate. You might not get as much hate, I don't know. But you have way more followers, so you might get as much, if not more, because you have more followers or more people watching your stuff. But how do you deal with it? Like, mentally too. Like, how do you do it?
Let me get my lip gloss for this.
Yeah, girl. And I'm like, I cannot go with this interview without asking her this. I need to ask her this. Yes.
So let me take a step back. So when I first created my TikTok, it was not solely focused on cop stuff. That was not my niche. I was just kind of posting just random stuff
Yeah.
until one day I forget what her username was, but she was a cop. She posted this super viral video. There was no words being said by her or through the audio. It was just like that, like music. I was like, you know what? Like, let me see how it go for me. I'll just do the same thing and like obviously give her credit that she was like the main person who thought of it. And so I posted it and the video just blew up. Like my notifications were just going off the charts. And had like very few followers. So when I opened up my TikTok, I was like, what the hell happened? Like, where is this all coming from? I was getting so overwhelmed. And obviously, I would go through the comments and, like, thank people or, like, just reply back or to whatever positive stuff they're saying, but along with that, there's a ton of negative stuff, and me thinking, like, I didn't do anything wrong, like, what did I do? Like,
Yeah.
why are these people, like,
Right.
so just honing in on, like, this negative stuff, like, "This is what my tax money is going to," and blah, blah, blah,
Oh
blah,
my God.
blah. So I was like, "Oh, okay, well," and back then, this was a couple years ago, like, I just wasn't mentally prepared for internet trolls. So I backed off and I spoke to some friends who are now like super big on all platforms and social media. And they're like, you know what? Just post whatever you want. Don't listen to people. Like it's gonna happen. Just do you. Like they're eventually gonna help you out by commenting or sending your videos or whatever, because it's reaching out to more people. So I want to say it wasn't until maybe like 2 years ago where I kind of took this more seriously and made my account fully like maybe 95% cop stuff and the other part like fitness and
Mhm.
food stuff. And I was like consistently posting, but through the comments again, I would reply back of like, oh, thank you, and oh, whatever. I just kind of laugh now
Literally.
Um, there it's just mind-boggling to me that, and it comes more so, unfortunately, from men, and not just men, but men who are also in law enforcement.
Thank you. You hit the nail on the head with that. Yep. Mhm.
And here we are supposed to be like in unity or like backing each other up and whatever the case is, but these people have like so much hate in their
Mhm.
heart, and they're just throwing it out, attacking these people on the internet who they don't know and they've never met. And it's like I said, I laugh now about a lot of the comments. It does get tiring, like, okay, I've heard that before, like, really. And I'll address some comments. I'll either like be a smartass back to them,
Yeah.
something funny, or I'll just be nice back. I'll reply to a mean comment and just be nice and like kind of explain as to address whatever comment that they made, just so they can get a better idea instead of completely coming to a straight conclusion instead of knowing the full picture. Like, for example, I'll make this very brief. For example, I recently posted a video on TikTok of my gear, what I hold on my vest and on my duty belt.
Mhm.
Everything, like 99% of what I'm carrying, I have to per my department policy. I have no choice. And I'm very limited on my torso. Like,
Right.
I'm small. These big chunky stuff, like, I have to figure out some sort of way to fit it. If it can't go on my vest, it has to go on my belt. And people are just like, "Well, I wouldn't put that there. I would put that there. I don't see why that goes there. Shouldn't that be over there?" But I'm like, "Well, if you knew, first of all," then they'll be like, "That's too much stuff." Like, I'm literally carrying the bare minimum.
Right.
It looks like a lot. Well, if you knew,
Oh my
like,
god.
my vest is set up in a way where I can't, not everything fits right of how I would like to carry, so I have to sacrifice a little of how I need to place some of my stuff. But
Right.
people are so quick to judge and be like, "Oh, you're a rookie, blah, 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 blah." Like, I'm like, "You guys are just so
Always
quick."
something to say.
Yeah, and yeah, it can be frustrating because it's like you don't wanna take the time of day to, like, really explain yourself so they understand. Because some people are closed-minded and they just don't wanna hear what you have to say, so it's like, "Why waste my energy?"
Right. Right.
But, yeah, I just kind of laugh and thank thank them for the comments because 'cause you're helping me out in the long run. Uh,
Right. What is your goal with like your social media? You want to like take it as far as it can go? Like do you have goals or do you just enjoy making the videos and kind of just seeing where this will lead you?
so that's a good question. As of right now, I am just kind of making videos as they come, especially if people are asking me like, "Hey, can you make a video of this?" or "Can you explain this on a video?" So it's not just that, but of like other little fun interactive stuff on my videos. But in terms of goals, yeah, it would be great to work with big companies,
Mhm.
especially for my duty belt. My duty belt is from Lead Devil USA. Um, they're not like super huge and well known, but they're pretty up there and they're really good quality. I've reached out to them and the communication just abruptly stopped, but they just even just collabing with like other good companies. But I do need to write down more like long-term goals of like what do I really want out of the social media, and how, like what's next, because
Yeah.
for me, I achieve a goal, but then once I have gone to that point, I'm like, okay, what's next? What can I do
Hmm.
now? Like I need to constantly be doing something because if I just stay stagnant in one spot, I just don't feel like I'm growing as a person. So I
Yeah.
do have an idea in my head that has been brewing for quite some time, and that may come into fruition next year. So you guys can keep an eye out for
Stay
that.
tuned. You have to let me know.
Of
That's
course.
awesome. I do think you definitely could have some brand deals in your future, like awesome, awesome brand deals. And I mean, who knows where you could take your social media, but I definitely think that like I mean, it's going there. I mean, you have over 200,000 followers
Yeah.
and it's not stopping anytime soon. So definitely excited to see where you take your social media and like where you go. And I'll be watching for sure.
I mean,
um,
I wasn't expecting it to this
yeah,
honest.
you have so many followers and you could like post anything and it gets like a shit ton of views. I'm like, damn, girl.
I mean, like I said, like when I started this, it wasn't really like I want to be like super famous and I am just gonna like be on like the top of the world. It was just kind of more so just post relatable stuff, post funny stuff about like cops. And then it turned into like, hey, can you make a video about this? Or can just, I need more information about this. And then people DMing me of wanting advice. So it just kind of is just turning more into being like a resource for people,
Yes,
which is from what I've heard of, it has been really helpful. So I'm glad about that. Yeah.
100%. You're definitely a resource for everyone else. But with your social media, it's like you're doing so much for everyone else. It's like, what can you get out of it now? You know? I'm like, man, I should be your manager.
I'm
um,
looking to the universe, like, please, a
yeah, right?
company just reach out to me.
Podcast. Um, so are there any final takeaways you can leave for our listeners and viewers? Any bits of advice or words of wisdom?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I would say don't care about what other people say about you. Um, Definitely be confident in yourself because especially if you want to do this career, because confidence will take you freaking far and beyond. And if you're timid or if you're shy, like you're just gonna get stepped all over. Um, and be true to who you are and be humble about a lot of stuff you do. And just find the motivation to want to accomplish your goals. Like you just can't waste time because time you can't get back. And I find that I try to remind myself about that too, like to not waste my time. Time is very valuable, and you just don't want to keep wasting it just thinking of like, what if? Just freaking do it. Um, I'm sure there's more I could say. I can't think of
But
right
you
now.
honestly have given so much advice throughout the whole podcast. And your page obviously has advice. So if anyone's listening, where can they find you? What's your handle?
Yeah, so on TikTok, you can find me at Itzel, Itzel 25 with two underscores. And you can also follow me on Instagram. Same thing, Itzel 25, but with one underscore.
I feel like you're the most popular Itzel online. So I think if they just typed in like the first three letters, it's gonna pop up anyways.
I do have people like pretending to be me on
Oh
TikTok.
my God.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I've gotten a lot of DMs of like people saying like, hey, they made this account and they're like DMing me, pretty much scamming people. So I only have
Oh
one
my God.
TikTok and I only have one Instagram. I don't have a backup account or whatever these
Yeah.
people are claiming to
Oh
be.
my God. You've hit that level of fame, girl. I love that for you. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day, for being here. And I would love in the future have you on again and we could do like I'm probably gonna get all the girls on and I want to do like a women's like expo where we just give like a bunch of advice for girls who want to become in law enforcement. But I
Yeah.
really, really appreciate you being here. I know you're busy and guys, go follow her if you're not already following her. She's amazing. And again, thank you so much. And be safe, please. Please be safe.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me.
Of
Thank you for reaching
course.
out. Like I've had fun. I've never done this before, so this is the first.
Oh, I'm your first. And guess what? Now that you've done this, trust me, you're gonna be reached out because you'll be reached out to by other people. But it's good because sharing your story is amazing and you have an awesome story. So I'm glad to be the first to share it.
Oh, thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Be safe.
You too.